Hi, my name is JodieLynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness, and this is my dear friend, Heather Marie Smith, founder of Soulgate. Welcome to Channel Squared. Last week, we were talking about positivity, connection versus polarity and division. And if you want to see that video, you can just visit our YouTube channel or the various clips of that video. But today, we're talking about divine wisdom, divine responsibility, all about channeling, being a channel, being empathetic, holding space for people. This is a giant topic, right, Heather?
Enormous.
I can tell you about, my journey of learning how to channel, and I feel like I was doing it for a really long time, but I didn't have any sort of precautions, protective measures, rituals, or those kinds of things. Really, I just had this belief everybody could do it, and I wasn't really that special because everybody can do it. Well, what's the big deal? And working with Heather has shown me so many things about really respecting the information that you're receiving, and I have a whole nother look on what we do as channels, what I do as a channel, and uh, let's talk about it, Heather. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think that sorry, I just got past a note. My thoughts on the importance of respecting the channel is we could literally spend 2 hours on my thoughts on that, but in a very short, brief explanation of it, I would have to say that you're speaking to another realm, right? Like you are essentially being a vessel for the other side. And if you are going to be this, there's a responsibility to it. You know, you need to respect the channel, you need to respect the other side, you need to respect yourself as a channel. It's huge. It's so huge. You know, when I, as you know, when I start working with somebody about learning how to use their channel, how to receive their information, how to move through communicating with the other side, the first thing I do is we work on, protecting you, making sure that you can actually do the work. So, and that's a respect for both sides. If you are not being respectful as a channel, you may not receive great information or it may come at a
Right?
cost to you, right?
Yes. That's how I learned, was the hard way. I was learning all of these rituals to keep me safe and respect the channel, and wasn't taking it as seriously as I should have, or as seriously as I do now. And I remember I was driving and, channeling, and I remember this feeling of overwhelm and pressure. And then the information that I was receiving was really dark and kind of scary and just didn't make sense. And I remember reflecting back on that and was like, oh crap, I didn't do my ritual. I was moving, I wasn't even stationary. So even like moving from place to place to place, there's so many energies all around you, and I'm super sensitive, so I was picking up on all of those things, as well as I wasn't checking who I was talking to when I was doing it. And I think it's so massively important, when especially when you're doing this for someone else, when you're giving information to someone else that is, most likely life changing. You got to check your sources, right?
Right. Right. Well, and it's not only life changing, but they're also usually in kind of a vulnerable place if they're reaching out to you to begin with. And you made a really interesting point about you being in the car, driving around, receiving information just from wherever and however, right? And kind of willy-nilly-ing it. So
Yeah.
it's not bad to channel in your car. In fact, I know lots of people who find their car to be sort of a sanctuary. They go in there, they meditate, they do all kinds of things in their car. But it's about making sure that if you are going to channel in your car, that maybe you're not driving to the store and maybe you're not distracted by what you're going to pick up there. And maybe it is truly, in that frame set of I am here to receive information to guide others. So,
Right,
yeah,
there's a purpose behind it. You're not just this isn't a party trick. Heather, we've talked about this before where somebody are like, "Hey, do it to me." Like it's a party trick,
right,
and it's so
right.
much more than that. There's so much responsibility behind it. I think it's interesting when people
Yeah,
treat it like that.
totally. And that's the thing is, as you can receive invitations to events because you are the entertainment. And that
Mm,
sucks because it's not like that. I know because, we've worked so closely together that we both have, certain rituals on and off, symbology for the other side to let them know, hey, I'm ready to work. And hey, I know my door is closed. You cannot come in. And I think that that's really an important thing to talk about because so many people, so many channels out there, they just, they're constantly open for business. And that's not fair to the human to be
yeah,
constantly open for business. You got to tell them, hey, I'm ready to listen. No, it's not right now. Come back later.
yeah. When I first started doing this, I was afraid to create those boundaries. I was really afraid that if I said I'm only available between this time and this time, or when I do this specific thing, a part of my ritual, that they wouldn't talk to me anymore, and that I would lose that connection. And what I found, the more that I did that, the more that I set those boundaries, the more information actually came through, because it wasn't when I was driving in my car, when I didn't have a pen or a piece of paper or something to record it, I was getting these amazing downloads that I would forget and then not be able to, recall the next day or later on that afternoon when I had space to do something about it. It was when I was available, when I had the space for it, then I set up my ritual and actually went in, and the information was so much more clear and concise, and the depth of it grew. Is that the same thing for you, Heather?
Oh, totally. I mean, I love to receive information in the shower. I don't know why. A fun fact about Heather, that doesn't mean that that's where I channel for clients. That's kind of where I willy-nilly.
Can you imagine? Like, I mean, just to take a second here, this is like a tool that you utilize, and some people, including myself, I've made this mistake and learned from it. But some people just do it willy-nilly like that. But you would never do anything else like that. Like you wouldn't have a client meeting while you're in the shower or while you're driving your car. You would actually set the container, set the space, have some boundaries, and
Right.
prepare for said meeting.
Right.
I think it's funny.
And yet I'm totally open to willy-nilly in my shower for myself, which is completely preposterous because, the information is skewed and wonky and, probably not very accurate. So, but it's interesting, the ritual is so important. It's just so important. And when you give them a container to work within, your information is actually much more clear and much more to the point. It's not like, well, you could kind of go to the store and get this thing. It's like, no, go to the store right now and buy exactly this item.
Yeah.
It's just very much more direct if you have a ritual and you do it the right way.
Yeah. And I think it also takes practice. I mean,
Absolutely.
everybody has the ability to channel, but it's like every other gift or ability. You have to work it. You have to practice it. Some people it comes easier than others. I know at the beginning it was hard to hear things, and then it got easier and easier and easier to the point where they have, get a very deep sense of what's going on with pictures and words and all of these things. But that kind of takes time. What has your experience been?
I actually want to cut you off for a moment
Okay, sure.
because we didn't say hi to our guests.
Let's say hi. We
We
have
have
people
people
watching.
watching.
Wonderful. Hi,
Hi.
everybody. Say hi in the comments. Tell us where you're from.
Totally, totally. Tell us where you. It's funny because I've been kind of trying to keep one eyeball over here at the live. This is our first actual live, by the way, on YouTube where we're literally live streaming. I feel so like amazing.
Yes.
I feel
And
kind of famous right now because we have 3 people watching. It's amazing.
it's
Okay.
wonderful. Hi, everybody. All of
Hi,
our
everybody.
and if you have questions, drop them in the comments there. We can answer them.
Yeah,
Sorry, what
definitely,
were you gonna
definitely.
say?
Okay, I'm sorry. I actually cut you off. Jody, please ask me your question again.
Um, I was just saying how the depth of my experience has been by setting those boundaries. I like just practicing utilizing this gift as a tool, and I just wanted to hear your experience.
I mean, definitely. For many years when I would channel, I would do the willy nilly channeling, where it would just kind of plop into my head and then out of my mouth it would come. And, sometimes, um, sometimes it was a little bit, I don't know, just kind of skewed or just not, it just wasn't intentional. And one thing that I know for sure is the universe loves intention. So when you are going out there and you're looking for answers and you're looking for clarity and you're looking for purpose and all of the beautiful things that that side can provide to you, you need to do it with intention. And I mean, I really think that we can learn a lot from the universe as a whole about being intentional, even in our human experience. Because we as humans, I mean, how often do we not do things with intention? What if we did everything with intention?
Yeah,
What kind of world would that create?
a way better one, I think. I mean, there's so many things that we do that we are so oblivious to. We just do it because that's the way we've always done it. That's the way that we've always thought. And really, when you start becoming intentional, making up words here, intentional about why you are doing this thing, even intentional about what you are thinking, there's so much power in that. And I think the responsibility when it comes to utilizing this tool is something that you were talking about already, the vulnerability side. I mean, the way that you channel, Heather, and the way that I channel is a little bit different. Heather's got, and you can fill in the blanks here, the higher level conversation with God about your purpose, clarity on the road ahead. Are you on the right track? For me, I utilize Heather is the channel. And for me, I utilize it as a tool when it comes to abundance consciousness, where blocks are coming from, what thought processes are hidden and blocking someone from receiving. And when I source or when I am receiving that information from my 5D guide team, sometimes, most of the time, there is a lot of really deep, even traumatic stuff that I see from that other person's soul. So it's almost like I'm seeing them completely naked and they're bearing their soul, their heart, everything to me. And I believe truly that there is responsibility in that itself, that we should be responsible when reaching in and taking somebody's heart in your hands, because it's such a sacred space and such a sacred thing to do. I I just yeah, I just think you have to be responsible with that, because when you're not, you can really hurt somebody.
Well, exactly. And I think that you said it so beautifully and so eloquently, like how sacred that interaction is. I mean, you are essentially reaching into the depths of somebody's soul and receiving information that you're transmitting to the other side and receiving information to heal that wounded soul injury. It's very deep and very powerful work. And another wonderful channel that we both know had made a comment one time about doing the shadow work. And the part that makes, I think, us very special being channels is that in order for us to really establish that channel, sometimes you really have to do the shadow work. And when I say shadow work, for those who are unfamiliar, I mean like rip off the band-aid, look at the old wounds from multiple lifetimes and heal them so that you can move past them, so that they don't keep holding you back in your current experience. I know, Jody, when you are working with your clients in your abundance consciousness programs, like More, for example, you do a lot of this work with your clients. I, having been in that program myself now twice, it definitely brings up a lot of old traumatic injuries that I sustained in previous lifetimes. Even ones that I thought I had already healed have come back up to the surface. And so when you are working as a channel, you have to go through those things so that you know how to guide others. It's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah. And having that compassion and um, ability to hold that space, which becomes very interesting when you are empathic, wouldn't you say?
Very, very. Well, and the whole like empathic piece, right? Most channels, even maybe psychics probably, um empathy is usually like a major tool in their toolbox. And man, it can really suck sometimes because if it's painful for them as an empath, you could easily absorb that feeling as your own. And then you take it home with you and you're like, oh God, I feel so yucky today. But the reality is that, as you start to work in your channel and you learn how to take the steps to be a good clear channel, even if you're, empathic like you and I are, you can put a pin in it and be like, does this belong to me or does this belong to my client?
Hmm.
And I think that that's a really great exercise to do if you are empathic. I mean, even if you're not working as a channel, just, when you go into a room and you're like, oh man, gosh, it feels so heavy in here. And then you're like, oh, I'm starting to feel kind of down. Just put a pin in it and say, is this mine or does this belong to somebody else?
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that's huge right now, especially with what's been happening in the world for, you know, the last year. Um, I know for me, being an empath, for a long time, I wanted to take people's pain away. So I thought as a healer, even though I didn't call myself that, as a healer or a coach or a friend or a partner, I thought it was my job to take away their pain and make them happy. And I knew unconsciously that I was taking on their emotions, and trying to like actually take them away from them. Here, let me take it. I don't want you to feel bad. I will feel bad for you, and that was killing me. Not knowing the, is this mine, is this not mine, and just being around people. By the time Friday night would come around, I was so exhausted that I didn't want to hang out with anyone because I couldn't handle it anymore. I was just taking on way too much and had no boundary. There we go again with the boundaries. I had none. And something that I have learned for myself when it comes to taking away people's stuff, um, is is that it's not necessary. For me, I always reflect on my life. For me, when I look back at the trauma or tragedy that has happened in my life, although it maybe sucked going through it, when I look back upon those moments, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the experience. I'm so grateful for where I am now because I went through that experience. I'm just grateful that I got to feel the depth of those things, and the swing the other side is just as incredible, from the, negative to the positive, so to speak. And I'm constantly reminding myself to place that barrier I put up like an invisible shield, but one where I can still feel, I just no longer take, because those feelings, those experiences taught me so much. And I don't want to rob somebody of experiencing all of the goodness that can come out of feeling through it and healing it within yourself.
Well, and I think that, there was a couple points here and I'll try to remember them. The first one being, to feel but not take. A lot of the time when I'm working with some of my clients, they will feel like, well, if I turn that off, I'm not going to be any good at my work, right? I'm not going to be a very good healer, whatever, right? But the reality is that couldn't be further from the truth, because as you take on and take on and take on, it really does pile up, and it just
Yeah.
piles and piles and piles and piles. In fact, the very first time I ever had any energy work done on me, it was probably 20 years ago. And after it was over, she asked me, "How do you feel?" And I was like, "I just feel nothing. Like, I can't feel anything. I just felt numb." And I think anybody who's had like some major energy work done can identify with what that feels like. But the
Hmm.
reality is that's how we're supposed to feel,
The
right?
blank
To be
slate.
completely clean, you
Yeah.
just feel nothing.
Yeah.
And that's okay to feel nothing,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So I think that the idea of, if I turn off, or if I put a pin in it with the, empathy, um it actually being a detriment to the work that you're providing, the services that you're providing, is it's a farce, because I think if anything it helps you.
100%. And I think
Hmm.
that it's two separate things. I think for me, cannot completely shut off feeling the world. When I walk into a room, I feel it. Maybe I can turn it down depending on, how much protection I put on, the bigger the bubble, I'm practicing all of this stuff, but I still feel it. I still feel when, my best friend is going through something difficult and I feel her heartbreaking, or, my husband is frustrated and, he hasn't even come home yet, but I can feel his frustration or anger or happiness or whatever it is. I don't think you can turn that off. But that's one piece. The other piece is taking it from someone, trying to change how they feel to make them feel better. And you're putting it on yourself and holding it within. You can still feel other people without having to take their stuff on.
Well, and the thing is that even by you taking it on, it doesn't take it away from them.
No, not
They still
completely.
have it.
Yeah. Maybe you give them some relief for a moment, but it's a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're still going to, even though like you may have uplifted them in the moment that you were having your interaction with them, and they may have a little bit of an uplifted feeling for a while afterward, you didn't actually go in and take it away. It's
Mhm.
still there. But now
Yeah.
they have it and you have it. You both have it.
Yeah. Now now we have more people who feel sad or angry or whatever it is in the world instead of less. You know, kind of
Exactly.
counterintuitive to what you're trying to do.
Exactly. Totally.
Oh,
Exactly.
it this whole empathic side really puts a spin or an interesting take on holding space in a container in a group capacity or even a coaching capacity. I'm sure you've felt that before. I know that I have. Holding a group of people, I know that I only have a limit for so many people, and even after the class is quote unquote over, it doesn't end. I am still so attached. Are you the same way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's funny. It's one of the things that I tell people before they start working with me is, you know, just like our regular like coaching container is, this amount of time. But the reality is I start like you're like in my container. So it goes beyond just this, segmented hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever our container time is. You're in my channel, in my vibration, in my energetic frequency, and I feel you, and I know you feel me. So, I always have to tell my clients, because you said yes, you're going to feel me poking around in your energy. And the more we work together, the more you're going to feel it, because you'll start, it will start kind of like meeting each other vibrationally.
Mhm.
And, I had a dear friend reach out to me this morning who I woke up thinking about. And I thought, I need to reach out to her today. And I woke up to her messaging me about a dream she had last night. And I thought, oh, how interesting, you know?
Yeah, so
Of course.
powerful. Yeah, you were in there. Actually, that happened to us. If I can, I'd love to share that story, Heather.
Sure.
Um, Heather was doing a group trance channeling. I think it was open forum. A bunch of people could go, and this was early on in our friendship. I don't even know if like we were acquaintances. I had one mind blowing session with Heather and was just in love with what she does. But I was going through some difficult times in my life. I was pregnant at the time, and I was told that I was having an ectopic pregnancy, and I didn't believe it, and there was all of this stuff. And so I was at this event, and, I don't even think at that point I had been told it was an ectopic pregnancy. I was just worried. I had all this trauma from another experience, and I booked in a slot right away with Heather because I wanted some answers from God, from source. I just wanted to know that everything was okay, or if it wasn't, or how to deal with this. And I remember like, dang, I can't get in. It was like a Friday. Like I can't get in until like Tuesday or Thursday or something like that. And I was just like, I need this guidance so bad. And we got off of the call, and there was probably like 40 people or 50 people there. And Heather messaged me out of the blue. I think it was like on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. She found me and was like, I feel you. I know that you need me. Can we meet tomorrow or Sunday? And I was blown away, just that you felt me that strongly without this relationship with that we have now, but without that being there, and just being inside of your container, you knew exactly what I needed.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, and I assume, I'm going to assume, I'm going to make a very large assumption here. So everybody hold on to your seats. I assume that most channels and healers, guides, what have you, that work in the um, metaphysical, if we're going to categorize it, with integrity and with intention, do this, right? I mean, and that, again, that's an enormous assumption, and maybe I'm completely wrong. But for me, if you're in the container, if you're in my container or in my field at all, I will feel you. And in your particular situation, it was it was also very it was very overwhelming. I knew, like, instantly that you were trying to reach me, but you couldn't. And I knew that it was of, like, very much urgency, like massive urgency. It was also an experience that was very personal to me. And so I definitely leaned in because I was like, I need to just do this. And I think that, for those of us that are here to help guide others, through this crazy life, it's kind of our duty to lean in that way, you know?
Mhm.
Again, it's about being responsible for people, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I agree with that so much. And yeah, I just I think it's incredible. I know when I hold the space for people, I can feel them, I was just blown away that you could feel that and that you were attuned to so many people at once in such a large container. Just it was like a pop-up, and how clear the message came through. And you know, I think for everybody that's watching, I also want to say that just because you receive divine information like we do, just because you have, this direct line to God for answers, doesn't mean that you don't go through things or have resources to assist you through the process. Because what I've found as a channel is that sometimes when I'm channeling things that are really maybe traumatic for myself or that I'm really attached to, I can't get clear answers or
Mhm.
very clear answers. And even when I get answers, I doubt all of the things. So even though I was really tuned into my body at that time and really tuned into my channel, I found it really difficult to trust that everything was going to be okay. Or trust any of the information I was receiving. And I know that
Oh,
you felt that way too.
oh, absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of occasions where I have been so close to a situation that may be happening to me or someone that I really care about. Usually it's happening to me that I can't, it's not that I can't, it's that I'm so here in my head and in my body with it that it's like it's like being it's like the message is under a blanket of static, and I just can't hear it, or I don't wanna hear it, or I just start making it up about, "Am I hearing it?" It's just, and it's so, when you were going through that experience, I was struggling with some of my own demons, when I was trying to receive information for myself, I could get it clear as day for you, but even in my own experience, I was like, "Gosh, why can't I just, like, I'm the freaking channel. Like, give me the information," you know? And it's just, I think sometimes you just get too close to it. And so it's really great for people like us, those who are listening that are like us, that they have a village, a family to support them. I have a healer who I work with regularity. She cleans me up and keeps me spiffy. And, I'm very grateful for that. And, I have someone in my life who helps keep me safe and protected. And I have someone in my life who creates and helps me in my co-creation. And you've helped me with my financial abundance pretty much everywhere in my life, not even just financial. So it's wonderful to have these people around me. I've surrounded myself with such amazing, beautiful souls with so many resources and abilities, and it's truly extraordinary. And I think that if you are going to be in this profession, you should have a team of people to support you. It's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you
There's
have a
something.
manicurist, you have a you know, you have a
Exactly.
hairstylist, you have all of these people. What about the energetic level? What about the soul level, and who's going to be there to support you? I think it's so interesting that a lot of times we think we're on our own, and we're never alone. I mean, just guides, God, like the people, like how many billions of people there are in the world, you're never alone unless you're choosing to shut all of that off and not hear or not be seen or not be with
Mhm.
the
Well, and I think
beautiful
that,
things that surround you.
right, and I think that there's something very integrous about, you know, walking your talk. If you are a coach and you're coaching somebody on business, okay, you're a business coach, and you're coaching them on business, and then you're kind of coaching them on life and, how to have personal relationships or whatever. And if your business and your personal life is a total, you know, we're going to have to bleep this out, but if your life is a total shit show, um, you know, if you're not doing the things that you're telling others to do, where's the integrity in that?
Yeah.
You know? And I just feel like there's this I feel like there's this big wave of people that are gonna like wake up and come in and jump into the pool with us. And it's like, hey, jump in, but do it with integrity. You know,
Yeah.
assemble your team, your support team. You want people to come to you for support, you should be going to others for support too.
Yeah, it's this exchange. And I think, I mean, I want to deepen what you just said too about like if your life is a shit show and look beyond that because your life could be a shit show. We're lots of bleep in here. It could look massively like messy or whatever it is. And if you're utilizing the tools that you teach other people to move through it, to navigate through it, to get to the other side, whatever that looks like for you, that's integrity to me. Somebody pretending that everything is like Instagram filter perfect, whatever, that is not integrity. That is not that's not real. And I think in that vulnerability of sharing that we're human and that we go through these things and that we have these teams that we lean upon, I hope that it gives other people that the belief that they can too, that it's not about perfection, that it's about working through it and moving through it and continuing to grow. And that's being a human, that's real life. And just because you're gifted in any way, shape, or form, like a channel, even if you're a channel, you still go through stuff because this is your human form. This is why you're here, is to go through things, to experience life in itself.
Exactly. So true. Like, I mean, that says it just beautifully. Like, you know, you're here to have your human experience. So human up.
Human up. Yeah, get some really good guides.
Exactly.
Some if you need some, reach out.
Yeah, exactly. Drop it in the chat. We'll hit you up later.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man. It's it's interesting being a channel too. Um the depth of information that you receive about um people's purpose and the way that you see them. For me, I get to see um where they've come from, where they're going. Like feel like I've always seen people differently. I just see this higher version of them. Like I wish people could see themselves through my eyes because I just see them in all of their glory. And
Mhm.
um I receiving that vision, seeing people in that way, I think going back to the responsibility and being a channel, I think that is one of the greatest gifts I've ever been given.
I mean, most definitely. You know, it's interesting when I first dive into somebody's energy, you know, in a session. Even before if I'm trance channeling, obviously I have no recall of the session itself. But you know, in the couple of minutes when we're first talking and kind of going over how it's going to go, I've already, even earlier that morning, I've already kind of tuned into their energy. I'm starting to receive information on them already. And it's kind of like, shh, 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 you know, not yet, not yet. But when I get on my session with them, I oftentimes will see where they're headed, you know, and like I will receive that feeling of like how awesome life is going to be for them, you know, or I get a slight indication of, you know, some of the things that may come up in the channeling. And it's just the nature of what it is. And you know, you said that so perfectly that I wish that people could see how I see them through my eyes, because it's so true, isn't it? It's like I see these people and they might be struggling in the time, and I'm like, "Oh god, this is so temporary." Like where you're going is so you know, it's just going to blow your mind. Like I just can't even wait for you to get there, and keep hold of my email address. I want to hear about it when you get there, you know,
Yeah.
because it's just so magnificent. And I think that And I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that you are working in the same kind of paradigm of people that are here to like uplift and inspire and enrich the world for better, right? Moving
Mhm.
people into this new earth frequency. And so I've had the pleasure of channeling for some amazing souls. Just, I mean, even your purpose is like, right? Like fireworks on the 4th of July. And it's just amazing, really, like to hear why people came at such a crazy time, like, and that what they're going to achieve. It's just, gosh, it gives me goosebumps from head to toe all the time, you know? It makes me feel very um honored and kind of small because I'm like, wow, look at how like sparkly you are, you know? So, yeah, it's just I'm sure that you experience that too, don't you? I mean, when you're working with
Yes.
your clients?
One of the things that gets me every single time is how no matter what someone looks like on the outside, we all go through really similar stuff. The
Mhm.
am I good enough? Have I done enough? Am I worthy? All of these things. And, I used to think, when I was naive, more naive, I would look at people and be like, wow, they have it all together. They're not afraid of things. They're so confident. And, maybe I think a little arrogant, or, maybe I was a little judgy of their face or something. I'll admit it. Um, but seeing people's the front that we present to the world, seeing that, and then seeing all of that melt away to this beautiful heart that just wants to be loved and wants to be nurtured and wants to be told that they are in fact good enough. That's what gets me every time, because it doesn't matter if they are a 65-year-old man or a 25-year-old woman or anywhere in between. I've had all of these people in my coaching containers, and there's always these threads of things that we feel about ourselves, and I've felt all of these things too, so I can completely relate. And it's that seeing that we are all human and we just want to be loved and shown that love and have that love exchanged. That gets me every single time, and that makes me feel honored. I'm going to use your word, honored, that somebody would let me see that part of them, because it is the most vulnerable part.
Definitely. And do you think that um how do I want to ask this question? When people are having this experience, this, I'm not worthy, I'm not as sparkly, I'm not, these, it's this, do you think that this is a mindset? Do you think that it's conditioning, like human conditioning, or do you think it's injury on their soul from previous lifetimes? Like, what do you think about that?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I think it could potentially be all.
Hmm.
Some of the things I've learned about my previous lifetimes are shocking.
Shocking.
Um, Shocking. I don't know if I can share some of those things.
Well, we
Um,
don't want to scare the audience, so maybe not.
Maybe not. Okay, well, I had a
Pick
very
wisely.
yeah, I had many lifetimes in very bad situations. Very
Yes.
bad lifetimes in bondage. I think I can say that.
Yes.
Yes. So I think for myself, I think a lot of stars were on my soul. I had to do a lot of healing of that trauma. And I think if someone comes into this life as gifted, more than likely in a past lifetime, they were also gifted there too. And maybe utilized said gift and were persecuted for it. So I think
Mhm.
past lifetimes and the toll it takes on our soul, the pieces maybe that we leave behind in those moments, definitely has something to do with it. I also think the conditioning we have in society, as well as the homes that we grew up in. And what I found when it comes to money, Heather, is it 99.9% of the time has nothing to do with money.
right?
Nothing to do with money. It's something that we decided about ourselves. And then our brain has locked in on this idea and worked the rest of that time to prove that it's true. So for me, when I was 5 years old, my uncle passed away and everybody's crying and no one would tell me what's going on. And I downloaded as a 5-year old Jody, you know, that I can't be trusted with information, that I can't handle it. And then from 5 until I am 36 on Saturday. So that entire time, well, I started working, healing this wound, within the last 7-10 years. But all of those years, I found examples of that to be true. To put legs underneath this table to support this theory that I could not handle it. It being life, it being money, it being relationships, decisions, everything. It was everywhere, so intertwined into my life so deeply that it was that. And maybe that came originally from a piece of my soul that was traumatized in a past lifetime as well. So I think
Well, and
both
I think that,
all.
yeah, I mean, and I think that there are plenty of people that are here on the earth plane right now in this timeline that have very similar past, timelines, right? So, mine was very traumatic, a lot like yours. For the sake of the listeners, bondage is a great way to describe it. I had a lot of having everything and having it taken away from me. And
Mm,
what is interesting is sometimes when I am running a pattern, a self destruct pattern, it is in order to have things taken from me. And
mm.
so I've done so much work around this pattern of having things taken from me, right? But every once in a while it creeps its little self back in there, and it's just having to work through it. But I definitely do. It's something that really I think about a lot, about does the soul come in with these patterns, this knowledge base of I've had so many lifetimes of shit, and so I'm therefore going to create shit because it's what I know? Or is it, I came in with a lifetime of shit. I'm going to come in, I'm going to do all my things, I'm going to be just perfect, and nothing's going to get taken from me. And then the minute that mom says, no, you can't have, you go, oh no, it's the same life again.
Yeah, maybe
you
it's
know?
that remembering.
It could be because, you don't really lose your connection that way until you're like, about 6 or 7 years old. So up until you're about 6 or 7, you still know why you're here. you know?
So yeah, let's just follow this through. So until you're 6 or 7 years old, you're still connected to past lifetimes, like potentially you could remember them.
You are still connected to why you came here.
Okay, your
You
purpose.
do have a certain amount of amnesia about the previous timelines, but your purpose and your plan, you still have a connection to. It's usually around 6 or 7 that the human conditioning has conditioned that out of you.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting. In all of the personal development that I have done, they say, in between 7, 8, somewhere in there, you have fully developed what you value and your belief systems. So
Mhm.
how you're going to operate in this world. So we're a bunch of children trying to do adult things.
Mhm.
But I'm sure that those two things are connected.
Oh, absolutely. Don't you think? I mean, if you think it through, around 6 or 7 is when you start losing that connection. And then you're kind of like, oh gosh, I don't really know what I'm doing here. So I'm going to glom on to mom and dad because they know everything because they're big. So they've survived. So I'm going to do that. So it's almost like your human animal takes over. And the
Yeah.
animal says, I'm going to connect to mom and dad, and they're going to teach me the way. And so, therefore, the belief structure is built.
Yeah. And if, I neither of us have children, but I imagine that if
Yet,
your
yet,
child, yet,
yet.
very soon we're putting it out. We're very intentional about having those babies. Um,
Yes.
yes.
Everybody send us the good baby juju.
Yeah, that's right. Good baby juju. I'd like twins, please. Um, okay. Uh, if you're growing up in a household where these gifts may not be something your parents have ever heard of or experienced themselves, and if someone's, you know, if a child is speaking to the other side, or I think it would be terrifying. I remember, oh my gosh, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. I remember when my niece was a kid, and I never even thought about this until now. She was a child, and my brother woke up one night. I watched a scary movie. I don't even remember what it was, but the lady was pregnant and then the baby, it was just not good. Anyway, I lived with them for a period of time and I was scared of their child. There was no reason to be scared, but I was just neurotic. Anyway, I move out and they have an upstairs and a downstairs, and my brother wakes up because he hears something on the monitor downstairs and he's like, what the heck? And it was like, hello, or like something like that. He goes downstairs and all of the lights are on. He had turned all the lights off. And his daughter is standing downstairs and like looking in the pantry or whatever. And like, they're coming. I don't know. I'm so glad I wasn't there. But I can imagine as a parent of something like that something like that happens, you're like, holy shit. What, this can't happen. You want to try and like, let's get you on the sane path. I mean, these gifts haven't been mainstream or accepted for a really long time. So
Mhm.
it's almost like as that child grows up, even before the 6 or 7 mark, it's constantly inundated like, you can't do that, whatever. This said niece, such a beautiful child. I was talking to her the other day. We were driving and we started talking about gifts, and she's like, I should try and open a bottle with my mind. And she's like staring at it. Nope, can't do it. And I said, well, you could do other things. Like, let's start small and you can practice developing these gifts. I know that you have these abilities. And I was telling her about feeling into people's energy. And she responded back with, that's something that she did the other day with her friend. And I thought it was just such a beautiful exchange, helping her develop these natural gifts that children have of being empathic and sourcing information and seeing the future, doing all of these things. We're all gifted. It's time for us to lean into that with our kids. But I could see how it wasn't accepted for a long time and how some people still aren't, so it would be kind of smacked out of them.
Well, and I
Not
think
literally.
that yeah, and I think that like the unaccepted or not accepted piece of it is that the mind will fear what it doesn't understand, and I think that we need to remember that the brain is here to keep your physical body alive. That's it. I mean, does it, do critical thinking? Does it, can it help you mathematically figure something out? Of course it can, but the real primary primal purpose of the brain is to keep your physical structure alive. So we had an experience here at my house last week or the week before, where the living room light, we have this lamp that goes on in the living room. It's on a timer. Literally flashed. It like flashed, like, like a light flash. And I looked over at it and I thought, gosh, that's odd. You know, that's weird that flashed. And I'm like, did I see that? And so then I went back to doing what I was doing, and it flashed again. And I looked over there and I'm like, huh. And then all of a sudden, the light literally starts strobing. Okay, it's like a strobe light, like a disco in my living room. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, huh. And I look over at my husband and I'm like, did you see that? Because I think, well, maybe I just saw it. When you're like us, sometimes you have to ask others, did you see that?
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, sure looks like someone's trying to get your attention. And I'm like, boy, I guess. But in that moment, my human up here was like, you don't want to know, don't ask, don't get involved, don't, and I made him like hold
Run.
my hand while I meditated, and because my little human being was scared. but it's just sort of interesting how because the brain is afraid of what it doesn't understand. I think that that's a really common experience that could happen, especially to little ones who are so connected.
Mhm.
And I encourage those people who are watching that have little ones to lean in. Maybe you can learn something. you
Mhm.
know if they're, your little one is, saying that they, see something or hear something, or ask what it's saying, ask what it looks like, ask questions. Maybe they're not, schizophrenic.
Maybe
you
they're
know
just normal and gifted.
exactly. They're
Yeah.
just still connected people. Just find out what it's about.
Imagine a world where we weren't disconnected, Heather.
It'd be amazing.
It
It'd be
would be.
amazing. hmm I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's good that we're disconnected, because then you're not all in each other's business. but but I think that, we could certainly have a lot more compassion for one another if there wasn't the disconnect.
Yeah. We could
So,
remember.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and it's really important for us to remember, you know, that like we all, every soul in the entire world is of love. Even if they're here doing evil things, the soul itself is of love. So, let's try and find some compassion for one another and come back to a place of love.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it any better. I think we are at time. Is there any final words that you want to say?
Nope, just love each other.
Just love each other. Have respect for the wisdom that you're given and love.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm not really sure how to end our live.
Hey, that's okay. That is something that we will figure out.
Yep.
Last thing I want to say is our next video is July 27th. So in 2 weeks from now, we
2
will
weeks.
drop we will drop mini clips every single day, Monday through Friday of the this video, and then the full video will go up on of this recording will go up on July 27th, and then again we will have our third episode live on YouTube July 27th. This was so much fun. Did we have any questions?
I didn't see any questions. I got it. I didn't see any questions in particular that we could answer in this particular session. Um, nope. No particular questions that we can answer in this stream, but um, yeah, if you would like to reach out to us, you can reach me at hello@mysoulgate.com. And you can reach JodieLynn at JodieLynn@JodieLynnCraven.com. That's JodieLynn Craven. And we are accepting appointments. We've got programs running. So if you want to work with us, that's where you can find us. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook. You can find us over there. And of course, we're going to be here to see you all. And thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.